What's going on, guys? Happy Thursday. Want to welcome you back. We have another OTA content patch for you guys all before War Machine comes out and breaks Marvel Snap entirely. We've got some buffs finally to the Guardians of the Galaxy. We have a nerf today that I was not expecting, and quite frankly, I think is stupid. And then we also have our 600th and, I don't know, like 19th attempt to tame Thanos. Now, we're going to do today a little bit differently. We're going to go with the good, the bad, and the ugly of the patch. Obviously, starting with the good. And we'll kick things off in the good category with Captain Marvel, who has been kind of all but forgotten after she had like 2 weeks of fame. She was a 4-4, was a 4-5, now a 4-4. She's going back to a 4-5, if that was not confusing enough. And I, for one, think this is way overdue. Definitely was enjoyable having her at this spot. It was a little bit too much where like Marvel Snap was in the meta at that moment, but they think the game has kind of matured enough to get her back to that stat line. And Captain Marvel is just a fun card. I mean, you can combine her with things like Elsa, Bloodstone, also Shuri, Forge, to get a little bit more boosted help to win a match. But also just like Zabu, Kraven deck. She's like a premier 4-drop and definitely is going to get immediate use like she did last time. The kind of movement style decks with, you know, whether it be Jean Grey or Elsa with Jeff and Nightcrawler is going to be her best home. And no question, this is going to be one card that you can slot into a lot of decks as a plug-and-play option. All right, guys, I got to stand up for this one because the Guardians of the Galaxy are finally getting love. It's been a long time. They've tried a couple of times. They're just terrible cards. They're just... You have to guess where your opponent plays, and I feel like the devs may not respect just how hard that is, even for a casual, and then for competitive, just too much of a risk. So the payoff is just not there, especially looking at some cards that have been released. Now, I've wanted them to have some type of a secondary ability that happens. I think it's kind of worth, you know, the risk and reward factor. If you miss, you get nothing. If you hit, you get power plus something. We're not there yet, which means I don't love this, but it's a step in the right direction, meaning I'm going to put it in the good category. And we start with the 1-drops. They went through all of them. Mantis was last week. She's still not going to get played. But Rocket Raccoon, as you guys know, was a 1-2. If you guessed correctly, he got himself +2 power. He's now a 1-1 with +4 power, making him a 1-5. Not bad. Ant-Man is getting a lot more play now that he's a 1-5. It could be tough. I think the lower cost Guardians are probably going to benefit the most here because you can play them all at once on like a Daredevil turn 5, something like that. Maybe Jean Grey. So I don't hate the rocket change. This one should be at least more usable. But next we move to Star-Lord. And listen, guys, this is one... Star-Lord's iconic. First of all, we're brothers. Second of all, he was a 2-2 +3, made him a 2-5. Definitely really not worth it, especially with some of the cards we have out now. They've upped it +1, making him now a 2-6. That's not bad. A 2-6 is definitely not bad, but again, trying to guess can be tough. Now, a strategy is you do like a Daredevil deck, maybe Jean Grey, and you play all the cheap ones, and then you get a massive like increase in your power the last couple of turns because you know where they have to play. And that's kind of the play style to go with these guys. But Star-Lord, I don't know. With how iconic he is, I just feel like he should have either some other ability or just something completely different. But he's now going to be a 2-6 if you guessed correctly. Now we move on to the 3-cost. We've got Groot. As you guys know, he was a 3-4 +2, made him a 3-6. Now he's a 3-3 +4, making him a 3-7. And Groot has some of the best variants. One of the most beloved characters. No one played him. I mean, they've already tried to buff him before, and they, in turn, made him, like, kind of worse somehow. Groot in our next card is just a meme in Drax. And so this will make him a 3-7. Again, not bad for the stat line when compared to some other cards. You do have to guess where they're playing. Maybe with so much Hope Summers out there, it's a little bit easier. I haven't done a Guardians deck, and I will surely do another one following this video. Next up, we have Drax, who is a 4-6 +2. He's a 4-5 now, +4. And, yeah, 4-9. 4-9, a little bit better than Crossbones. A little bit worse than, I don't know, Cole Obsidian that only needs a 1-drop at the spot. That's what's wrong with this, right? A 1-drop makes a 4-10. Guessing the perfect lane, like a 33% chance with some change and help, you get a 4-9. It's fine, I guess. Maybe you combine it with Odin. 5 is Gamora, and this is the change that I think is pretty good for her. She was a 5-7. They're making her a 5-8 now, and they're reducing the plus power. Still the same stat line you're going to get from her. She's still going to be 12 power. But I like this. I think this was a healthy change. If you miss, you still have a 5'8", which isn't bad. Gamora is definitely the most useful of all of these, and so I'm glad they're experimenting with making her even a little bit better. But ultimately, I don't know, guys. I have this as a good because it's a step in the right direction. I don't feel like this is where we should end with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe I'm off base, but personally, I'd like to see them more competitive and to get the respect they deserve as how hard they are to play and guess and that whole mechanic. Yes, I am sitting down again. Mind Stone is going to be our last in the good section. Obviously, people that enjoy Thanos are going to hate this, but they finally, I feel like, got it right to find the tool to tame Thanos. Now, as you guys know, the Soul Stone has been adjusted. We also had the Mind Stone kind of adjusted as well, pulling 1-drops instead of just stones. And then, you know, obviously the Time Stone just got its adjustment. The Mind Stone, though, has always been the best stone. If you guys went back and saw my Thanos guides of old, if you start with the Mind Stone, you have a very good chance to just win the game. You have everything you need, all the momentum, and combine that with something like Mockingbird, and it's absolutely busted. Now, the Mind Stone is going from a 1-1 to a 2-1, which is the first of the stones going up a cost. And yeah, this is kind of crazy. I mean, they are just trying to find the sweet spot of what makes Thanos great without completely killing him, but also not making him too good. In the last OTA, they were like, we're going to have him sit on a timeout bench, and he got, like, even better. And that's just Thanos for you, right? Just a really good plug-and-play card. I still always think he'll be competitive in a sense. This could really do a number on him, though. Not being able to play Mind Stone turn 1 is the first checkoff item. And number 2, a whole energy increase with no power, obviously is going to hurt the archetype as a whole. And I think that is their mission. I'm going to put this in the good category because Thanos has been reigning strong for quite a while. And hopefully this is like a happy medium. Now that's going to conclude the good side of things. Let's talk about the bad. And these are either buffs or nerfs that I just feel like didn't need to happen, right? The ugly are ones that I'm appalled at. But the bad, we start with Psylocke. And I don't really agree with this one. I don't see it. They're trying to like double down on Thanos. Apparently the only place she's really played is Thanos decks, which makes a good amount of sense because Hope Summers is just ridiculous. And then you have Wave, Electro. I just don't see why they would tame her. It's a PowerPoint. Psylocke already needed something going for her for us to even play the card. And she's got some banger variants. I just don't agree with this one. I don't really see why this was necessary unless they really deemed her specific use in Thanos really amping him up. But yeah, maybe I'm off on this one. Let me know down in the comments. Next up in the bad category is Adam Warlock. And this could have been in the ugly, but I'm going to give it a chance, I guess. As you guys know, he was a 2-cost card that if you were winning a location, you could draw a card. They buffed that up to 5, and I say buff very loosely. 5-4, and after each turn, draw a card if you're winning here. They're trying again, and they're changing them to a 5-5. Now, in the paragraph, they're saying that they easily could have taken it to a 5-6, and they want Adam Warlock to kind of find a place maybe in Cerebro, and I'm just not a fan. I almost put this in ugly. This is just not it for Adam Warlock. I mean, somehow they made a card that was never played, even more just not even looked at this point. Iconic character, just I don't feel like it hits the mark for the character and or just like a usable 5-cost card. I mean, look at Cannonball. Pretty good card stat-wise and ability, but even he is going to struggle with like a lot of use and play. And so this is just probably not going to be enough for Adam Warlock. I think ultimately they need to tame the stats and then make him a 4-cost maybe. I don't know if they don't want too many Zabu cards. 5 costs, though, for this kind of effect and that late into a game is just not worth it. I even tried to get him to work in Pixie. That didn't happen. I guess if his home is in Cerebro, cool, but this just isn't it to me. And we end things with one last nerf on the ugly of the patch, and I think it's going to be Apocalypse, guys. Yes, Apocalypse. I don't think a lot of people felt like Apocalypse needed a lot of nerfing or buffing. He felt kind of just right, like a Doctor Doom, if you will. The discard archetype, especially like traditional discard, needed it. I'm sure Glenn or the balance team, you know, they noticed something that indicates that Apocalypse needs to go down. I just felt like he was the perfect card. Regardless of the win rate, that archetype really needed it. And I just didn't see the Twitter. I didn't see anybody complaining about Apocalypse. Yes, he can get crazy high, but he's very telegraphable. And I feel like he already gave the advantage to the person they're playing against because you know what they're going to do with maybe Dracula. We did have a lot of discard stuff come out with, you know, Proxima Midnight and Corvus. but I felt like that was more on the hella end. So this gets my ugly ranking. I haven't even said what they did. They're taking him from his 6'8", which you guys have known since launch. He's a pool 1 card. When you discard him, put it back with +4 power, to now a 6'6", which isn't that much power, but it also just seems like, I don't know, kind of unnecessary to me, which is why I've got this in the ugly tier. And so that is going to conclude all the buffs, all the nerfs, all the neutral changes, if you will. I like that they're starting to go after cards like Adam Warlock and the Guardians and mixing it up, but as I've stated, I feel like those cards need a little bit more, and I wish we would like tiptoe on the edge of what seems like a crazy upgrade and then just scale them back if it's too much. Again, maybe I'm alone in this, but I want to hear from you guys. I will not have a deck following this as I usually do the next day because I will be at PAX East. If you're there, say what's up, show me your favorite arrow variant, and appreciate you guys watching the content. About 50% of you guys are not subscribed, so if you could take a second and do so, one click for you helps me out massively as we climb to 150,000 subs on the channel. Just a crazy, crazy journey. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Have a great one. Till the next one. Happy snapping.